next guest is the new Vice President of Research and Development at the Lignite Energy Council, Mike Holmes. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
Congratulations on being the fifth person to hold this position. Second, hired from the Energy and Environment Research Center at UND. Talk a little bit about the Research and Development Program at the Lignite Energy Council and what it's all about.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. The Lignite Research Program works with the state and industry and looks for ways to continue this trend we have of making energy remain cost-effective, but make it more and more efficient, and addressing technology needs to get any of the next hurdles taken care of. And so there's a long history of success with industry, partnering with the program and the state to accomplish all the goals that are put in front of them.
What kind of investment is there from the state? I see the governor's new updated budget at $3 million. Is that the number you were seeing? Is that kind of in the ballpark of what you leverage each year to get those other dollars? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the existing program has been working off some of the coal severance tax funding for years, and so the number varies, and that's an additional one because one of the challenges facing industry is, especially in our region, we're looking at growth. And so it's not just the existing assets and dealing with the challenges they face as they come up, but it's also next generation power. So looking at commercialization of everything from utilization from CO2 and capture of CO2, like utilization of CO2 for enhanced oil recovery to next generation power technologies. So it's that advanced technology that will allow us to move forward with that next system that meets the future requirements.
And the dollars that the state puts into this fund actually come from the industry indirectly, right? Because they're a portion of what's paid on the taxes by the industry.
Yeah, the lion's share of the funding has historically been through the coal severance tax.
Yeah, so that's an interesting little. It isn't the state just picks a number and says, here you go. That is a percentage of what the industry is already contributing, and that comes back in. Now, I mentioned earlier you were at the Energy and Environmental Research Center, and we're a lead investigator there on a number of R&D projects. Also been on the Lignite Research Council that decides what projects are going to be studied. So obviously the process and yourself, you come in with a working knowledge of those. Tell us a little bit about some of the projects that you're most excited about, that most promise.
Yeah, so we again, as I mentioned, we have the challenge of taking the existing assets in the state and utilizing them as we move forward. So some of the intriguing technology opportunities are to look at capture of CO2, and that way we can lower the carbon footprint. But in our region, we have a great opportunity that they don't in many other regions, and that is we have the possibility to use the synergy of a great geology in our region with the oil and gas industry. And so, we need CO2 eventually as we look at the Bakken, but currently for conventional oil for enhanced oil recovery. So, the opportunities in that area are very exciting. And then also as we look toward expanding the power generation, we look at, the Bakken, for example, as time goes on, takes more and more energy requirements as that grows. And so we're looking at next generation power technologies and ways to integrate the carbon capture along with the electricity production. So that is also a very intriguing project, and we're looking at supercritical CO2 cycles as a way of doing that. So a much different technology than has historically been used. So the easy way of saying it is instead of steam driving the turbine and making the electricity, we use CO2 in the process.
And as you look at when that idea first emerged as worthy of investment for R&D dollars to today, what kind of progress are you making? I mean, is there exciting to see how the needle is moving in that regard, where that is getting closer and closer to viability on a big scale?
Yeah, so there's a lot of challenges as you go into a technology that's that different. And in this case, the state did step up in a big way and help support that particular project. So what we're looking at in that effort is a $5 million investment to look at using the technology applied to lignite coal. And currently, though, there's a demonstration going on down in La Porte, Texas. They're doing the installation now. The target is to have first operation of it this summer. And so it's about a 25 megawatt electric system that's running on natural gas. So there's about $150 million being invested separate from our efforts to make the system run on natural gas. And so what we're doing is using lignite as the starting point. We're looking at the gasification, removal of impurities, metallurgy requirements to take that same technology once proven on gas and just switch out the syngas that you make from gasifying coal.
For every one state dollar, another $9 for research and development comes from other sources like utilities and mining companies. So these are projects that are exciting because they can do some very innovative things. One area I've always been excited about, especially in North Dakota, because it's coal country, but it's also oil country, and that is using CO2, a product that everybody's trying to get rid of to enhance oil recovery. Kind of a win-win in that regard. How are those projects coming along?
There's a lot of very exciting opportunities there. I agree with you fully, Scott. And the neat thing about it is you not just are going to generate additional oil, but you can extend the life of our oil play or our oil industry in the state. And so, the initial studies, for example, just across the border a ways into Montana, there's a demonstration that is commercial at the Bell Creek, and that's going very, very well, and it's very similar geology. And now we're looking at opportunities within the state of North Dakota, as well as not just those conventional oil wells, but now we're looking at demonstrations for the tight oil that you see in the Bakken. And, people got to remember that there's a small amount of oil is what we're producing, a small percentage to get this tremendous amount of production out of the Bakken. So if we can just incrementally improve that, it's just a tremendous potential.
Fascinating. Well, congrats on the new post, and thanks for an update on some of the R&D. We look forward to learning more about how this all works for the industry. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate the time today.
You bet. The new Vice President of Research and Development at the Lignite Energy Council, Mike Holmes, is talking a little R&D today on energy matters and some exciting projects that tax dollars are being invested in. Obviously, tax dollars the industry is paying a percentage of those, but with some good return for sure.